Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we are talking about a whole bunch of major Nintendo Switch 2 news, rumors, and leaks surrounding the epic Nintendo Switch 2 Direct that we are getting tomorrow. Nintendo's confirmed the amount of time the presentation will be, about an hour. There will be Treehouse events, but we've learned far beyond just that. Nintendo is continually hyping up and teasing this presentation. There have been FCC filings coming out, seemingly leaking some pretty big things about the Switch 2. We also have other surrounding rumors and leaks and announcements that are giving us some pretty big hints about the presentation tomorrow and what's to come down the road as well. So really, there's a lot to get into today, even though we are just a few hours away from the epic full-on reveal unveiling of the Switch 2 generation. But before going forward, let me take this moment to point out that I am aiming to reach 50,000 subscribers by the time the Switch 2 launches. So if you find yourself enjoying my content, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe and hit that notification bell. And here's a message about this video's sponsor, Zike. Zike provided to me their mobile game stretchable controller. And what that means is that you can take a variety of mobile devices, and by stretching the controller out, you can fit these devices into the controller, and they plug into the movable USB-C port. But I was actually surprised at the variety of different games I could play on the controller. Some popular ones: Genshin Impact, League of Legends, Grand Theft Auto, Roblox, Minecraft, Apex Legends, Call of Duty, Diablo, and so much more. I was actually surprised that there are different gaming apps and emulators that are also compatible with the controller, so there's really a lot you can do. And this controller is quite comfortable and it feels great. You got Hall effect triggers and control sticks, the face buttons and D-pad feel quite clicky and responsive, the grips have a nice comfortable hold, and the overall shape of the controller is quite ergonomic. Really, it's a fantastic controller. And I also like how when you put your phone in some cases you may have to take off the case, but otherwise it works really well with a lot of devices. There's even still space for your camera if you want to take pictures while you have your phone slotted into the controller, and there's an additional USB-C port you can use to charge up to 36 watts, so you won't really have to take out your phone during long play sessions. And really I found this to be quite an exceptional mobile game controller. The setup is very easy, you just plug your device in there and it works. However, if you require a bit more setup, there is a QR code you can scan for an easy tutorial, and there's a variety of settings if you so choose, but really, in default, everything worked fantastic for me. So if you're looking for a mobile controller like this, I strongly recommend it. There is a link in the description below, and actually right now, if you go to their website, you will find that the controller is on sale, 25% off. And on top of that, if you use my own code, my discount code ARZ331, you can get an additional 20% off as you see here. So this might be the best time to go ahead and check out a Zike mobile gaming controller. So let's start off with the most official, obvious announcements first. Today, Nintendo posted this on Twitter. Join us tomorrow, April 2nd at 6 AM Pacific time for a closer look at Nintendo Switch 2. The Nintendo Direct Nintendo Switch 2 April 2nd, 2025 livestream will be approximately 60 minutes long. This is amazing. I am so excited about this. Yes, I will be live streaming the event tomorrow morning. I will be starting a few hours earlier so we can do a nice exciting pre-show, but also tonight I am going to be doing a live stream as well, having a long-form discussion with a few fellow content creators. I think it's going to be a good time. But something I'd like to point out just in reference to the length of this presentation. As far as I'm aware, this is by far the longest Nintendo Direct ever. And as we've been discussing, this Direct is positioned or primed to be literally the greatest Nintendo Direct of all time. This length is very close to the length of the Switch 1 live conference presentation back in January of 2017. Now that wasn't a Direct, but it was about an hour and 5 or so minutes long. And so you would think that with a Direct, they would be more concise, it would be shorter, which is why I've been predicting something in the 50+ minute range, but not quite a full an hour, yet here Nintendo is saying approximately 60 minutes long. For some context, Nintendo told us that the recent March 27th Direct would be about 30 minutes and ended up being 36 minutes. So this presentation may end up being exactly as long as a live conference for Switch 1 back in 2017, but since this is a direct, they may be more concise, more fast-paced with their announcements, so with the same amount of time, but telling us more things more efficiently, there may actually be even more to talk about and show off in this direct. And that's very exciting. This direct may go down as an even better presentation than that live conference. But there's more. Nintendo also said this: join us on April 3rd and 4th at 7 AM Pacific Time each day for a Nintendo Treehouse Live Nintendo Switch 2 presentation featuring hands-on gameplay of Switch 2 games. And so this part also is very exciting. We are going to be doing multi-hour live streams for the rest of the week here, and there's going to be a lot to talk about, dissect, analyze. It's going to be a crazy good time. It looks like we're going to have some serious Nintendo games to be analyzing here, and probably some pretty big third-party ones as well. But Treehouse is coming back. It's been a very long time. I've noticed that some people are pointing out this Donkey Kong tree here. Listen, yes, that is a Donkey Kong reference, but this has always been the logo for Nintendo Treehouse. They have done Nintendo Treehouses with no Donkey Kong announcements, so I wouldn't take this to mean that Donkey Kong is going to be in the Direct. That said, it might be, and we're going to be getting into a rumor on that later into the video. So we'll see on that, but this is interesting. I was thinking that we would be getting Treehouse. I was thinking maybe it would happen after the Direct, like literally the same day tomorrow. So I'm actually happy that they're spreading it out throughout the week, because that gives me more opportunity to breathe, analyze these different presentations in different phases. And so us Nintendo fans are going to be eating really good this entire week. We have so much information to look forward to really, really soon. I do think this means, though, that we shouldn't be expecting like long, deep dives in the Direct. Like, we may have trailers, full-length trailers for games, but don't expect like 5 to 10 minute segments where they're detailing so many different things about different games. They're going to save the Treehouse event for stuff like that, but there should still be trailers on the games that there will be Treehouse segments for. And next here, we have a little bit of footage that came out from the Nintendo Today app today. There you go. That's it. That is what they showed off. We have a little bit more footage of the Switch 2, and they are pressing that C button. They are teasing that C button. They are hyping up the Switch 2 Direct. And so there's something special about that. We hear the cool sound effects. There's something going on here, and well, obviously we are going to find out about that tomorrow. However, we do have rumors on what the C button may be, and I've been talking about this for some time, but we have an update from LIC on Family Boards, who is considered to be a fairly credible user there, a well-connected one. So Disco Stew said, was Campus debunked at some point? I'm hearing about this recently, that the leaker said they made it up, but no one is providing where this was said. LIC responds, it's real. The person who is spreading it around had a lot of specific interpretations and other claims that may or may not be true, but the existence of an application with that codename, which is related to features for communicating and playing with friends, is real. There was actually like a data mine on Switch 1 that showed evidence of this. We just weren't entirely sure what it was going to be. And here LIC is saying that yes, Campus is a real thing that we are going to see for Switch 2. We don't know if it'll actually be called Campus, but it is interesting that we know for sure with 100% certainty, since Nintendo has confirmed it multiple times already, that the Switch 2 is going to have that C button, and Campus, well, does start with the letter C, so it may be the case that the codename could be the official name for whatever this feature is. The prevailing thought has been that Campus has to do with communication features, like perhaps group chats with different NSO members, and maybe some screen sharing as well. There are other rumors out there about what the C button is, but this is the one I subscribe to the most. But LIC actually shared some more very interesting information. We've gotten one more FCC filing just in time for the Direct. BEE008, another game controller, this time with both Bluetooth and NFC, so this one is actually the Pro controller. So BEE is the product code for Switch 2 products, and what LIC is referencing here has to do with another FCC filing we've been talking about over the last few weeks that seems to be for a Switch 2 controller that does not have NFC technology, and it seems to be something like a GameCube controller. This one, on the other hand, is not that. This seems to be the Pro controller, which makes sense. There will be some kind of Pro controller for the Switch 2, and apparently it's been confirmed that it will have a headphone jack. So here we see the label location of the rear, where it would be on the back, very similar to where the label is on the back of the Pro controller for Switch 1. And then here we see all this documentation where they make mention of the product code. We see the earphones here. And so it looks like, yes, we are going to have a Switch 2 Pro controller that has an audio jack that works pretty much as we would expect a Pro controller to work. And this is very exciting stuff. Having a headphone jack was one of the main issues, actually it was the only issue I had with the Switch 2 Pro controller, and if they add that, it basically becomes the perfect controller. Now, with Switch 2, there will be new technologies. How will this new Pro controller take advantage of that? We shall see, but getting a headphone jack that has the obvious implication that, yes, voice chat is going to be more standardized on Switch 2, and considering what we just discussed with the campus feature, that new C button, communication, voice chats, group chats, screen sharing, it all makes sense. It seems to be connected. And so we're clear, for those who are unaware of how FCC filings work, typically when it comes to Nintendo stuff like this, these FCC filings pop up shortly before official announcement of the product. So we are expecting to hear about the Switch 2 Pro controller during the Switch 2 Direct, and also about that other one from a couple weeks ago. We are expecting to hear about that one as well, which is why I've been predicting that maybe we actually see GameCube NSO. Could be something else, perhaps relating to Smash Brothers, for example. Which brings me to the next thing we are going to talk about today. So this is actually from a while back, but I've never really talked too much about it, and I've seen different people point it out. When Nintendo announced something about the Switch 2 Direct, as we see here, I think was this when they told us about the exact time of the presentation. Yes, they did that. Sakurai, Masahiro Sakurai, the creator of Kirby, Smash Brothers, said, "Wow," which led some people to think that perhaps maybe Sakurai is very subtly teasing that he will have a presence in this presentation. However, I will point something else out about Masahiro Sakurai's account. A few things, actually. For example, here. He said, "I can't just tweet carelessly." Why is he saying that? Because here, this site here said, game creator Masahiro Sakurai's simple tweet of "I see" caused a stir in the community. A mysterious method analysis begins. So, Sakurai here saying, hey, sometimes I tweet things, it's not that big of a deal. And what is being referenced is here when Nintendo announced the official Switch 1 Direct that we got last week, right? And Sakurai had reposted it saying method. So that led people to believe that maybe Smash Brothers or something would be in the Switch 1 Direct. And now we know that's not the case. Sakurai was not involved with anything in that presentation unless he's for some reason working on Tomodachi Life, which there really is no reason to believe he would. So really, there's a fantastic chance that Sakurai isn't teasing anything here. However, I will also say that Sakurai does have a history with teasing things, which is why we kind of overanalyze everything he says and does. So maybe something will show up in the Direct having to do with Sakurai, maybe not. Regardless, we do know that Sakurai is working on a game. It might be for Nintendo, there's a really good chance. He's usually working on Nintendo projects. And I do think eventually we will see a new game from Sakurai on the Switch 2. Perhaps the next Smash Brothers, perhaps something else, perhaps both. But I don't think there's really enough evidence to think confidently that Masahiro Sakurai's next project will be in the Direct tomorrow. That said, something else that's going on is the Final Fantasy IX 25th anniversary. They are talking about it now, things are going on, and the timing seems almost ideal to perhaps announce what everyone's been talking about, Final Fantasy IX Remake, perhaps for the Nintendo Switch 2 during the Direct. There will be some big third-party announcements there, we assume, very similar to the Switch 1 live conference back in 2017, so maybe this will be one of them. That's a possibility. Now, there have been some concerning reports that have been going on recently over the last couple days. I don't really think they're too much concern, but here's one of them. Apparently, John Linneman from Digital Foundry said many developers still don't have Switch 2 dev kits. So some people might think, oh no, the Switch 2 is not coming out anytime soon, there's going to be barely any games. But here's the thing about that. There are so many different developers out there. Of course many don't have dev kits yet. This is how it always works. They're going to get dev kits a little bit later as the console is about to come out or after it comes out. I can almost assuredly 100% guarantee you that the big AAA third-party partners already have dev kits. Nintendo's most trusted partners, they don't even have to be big developers, but even small developers, if there's a relationship there, probably already have dev kits as well. They are working on games. We know the Switch 2 is coming out this year. Maybe you want to debate that it's coming out late into the year, which I think is extremely unlikely at this point. I think it's coming out very soon, May or June. But the point is, devs have dev kits, don't worry. The Switch 2 is positioned to have even more games than the Switch 1, because with the Switch 1, yes, it was incredibly successful, and it got a lot of games, and it had a nice development environment, but with Switch 2, they're doing all of that, but now with the pedigree that was accomplished by the Switch 1. Because Nintendo was coming off of the Wii U, where there wasn't a great relationship and reputation with as many third-party partners. Now, there is. They've proven themselves, so the Switch 2 environment for developers should be far better. Do not worry about this. But another concerning article came out from Insider Gaming Online, where they said developers say the Nintendo Switch 2 dev kits don't have 4K output. This is coming from GDC. They spoke to some developers at GDC that don't have dev kits with 4K output, which is leading some people to believe, you see, I told you, there's no way Nintendo could do 4K with a tablet. Here's the thing about this. Apparently, Switch 1 dev kits were out there that weren't even hitting 1080p initially. And that's because handheld mode doesn't hit 1080p, it goes up to 720p because that's the max resolution of the Switch 1 screen. So with Switch 2, what we've heard is that the screen is 1080p, so it would make sense that some dev kits don't go to 4K. But also, we've already gotten leaks that the console is going to be 4K capable. And when I say leaks, I don't mean like soft rumors, I mean like leaks that we all believe quite a bit. Like, for example, remember that Next Handheld guy who leaked literal images of the Switch 2 before it was revealed officially by Nintendo? This person heard a variety of things, and they talked about how, yes, the console will be able to output 4K resolutions. Or how about the Nvidia relationship with Nintendo, how it's been reported quite a bit that they will be utilizing some form of DLSS. We've seen Nintendo patents where they have upscaling going up to 4K, and that's official stuff. So this whole idea that the Switch 2 won't be able to have higher resolutions above 1080p, I think that's just not true. I wouldn't be worried about this really at all, but the truth will become apparent likely tomorrow. But we still have so much more to discuss here. So, Central Leaks said this: I wonder if they will announce the Pokémon Legends ZA Nintendo Switch 2 Edition video game for the Nintendo Switch 2 video game console next week. So they are pointing out how on Nintendo's website, Nintendo basically has already confirmed that there will be cross-generation games. There will be Nintendo Switch 2 Edition games, which is one of the reasons why I'm very, very confident we will see Metroid Prime 4 tomorrow. Fingers crossed, I hope I'm right. But also I think Pokemon Legends ZA has a fantastic chance as well. And the way Central Leaks is wording this almost sounds like they know. Now, could be a joke, might not be a joke, might be a little bit of both. But yeah, they're talking about Legends ZA having a Switch 2 edition, which makes a lot of sense. Now, this next thing they say isn't necessarily about the Switch 2 Direct, but it is about Switch 2 and Pokemon. Here they say, as we approach the Switch 2 Direct, we have some special info for all of you. Legends ZA is currently planned to be the final main series Pokemon game for Nintendo Switch. I guess that is somewhat relevant to Switch 2 Direct if Legends ZA is in there. But here they say, Gen 10, codenamed Gaia, we know this from the Terra Leaks, will release next year, we also know that pretty much, exclusively for Nintendo Switch 2. This part, we have not known. Exclusively for Switch 2, because according to the Terra Leaks, Game Freak has been working on a Switch 1 and Switch 2 version. But just because they've been developing with both Switch 1 and Switch 2 in mind, at least to some extent, that does not mean we will see it come to market. So, according to Central Leaks here, they've heard that Generation 10 is going to be a Switch 2 exclusive next year, which will be huge for the console. Having the next generation of Pokemon available in that second year exclusive, definitely going to help sales significantly if true. Next, we have some rumors from Neku Felipe of Universal Nintendo and Nash Weedle. So here, Necro says, I'm going to take advantage of the joke I made on Discord here and say that I'm going against all of you to say that Mario 3D won't be the second big game for the Switch 2. Will it be Donkey Kong? Have you ever thought about it? LOL. Just 4 more days. This was a few days ago. And then Nash Weedle followed that up and said, I'll tell you what's happening on the dark side, in quotes, of the internet. It's been said for days that the new Mario 3D won't be coming this year, but Donkey Kong will be the star. I can't tell you about Mario 3D, but I've already told you about Donkey Kong and I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I think they follow up here and say, I'm just commenting on what's being said in the shadows. It's not a confirmation, but I don't see it as strange since the 40th anniversary celebration, the new Mario Kart, a new compilation, and the Mario Odyssey upgrade for Switch 2 could be interesting enough. And I repeat, keep an eye on the DK, or on Donkey Kong. And my take on all this is that no way 3D Mario is not available for the holiday season. Historically speaking, they always have 3D Mario available within that first year of the console. If you don't have a brand new Zelda, if you don't have the next generation of Pokemon, if you don't have 3D Mario in that first year of Switch 2, I think it's a tremendous mistake. I really do. We've been waiting such a long time for 3D Mario. I have such a hard time believing that it's not close enough that Nintendo can't make sure it will be ready for the holidays. So I don't believe this, and Nash Weedle isn't saying with 100% certainty it isn't going to be. But the other exciting take from this, which I also believe, is that yeah, I do think something is going on with Donkey Kong. I'm personally not expecting Donkey Kong this year. I think it makes more sense for Donkey Kong to be next year, 3D Mario, because it is the first year of the console. That happens, but yeah, Donkey Kong next year, totally believe it. But maybe Donkey Kong is coming sooner. Maybe we see it in the Direct. I am so ready for that, and if there is something big happening with Donkey Kong, maybe it's more than just a side-scroller, which I've been kind of theorizing for a very long time. So, fingers crossed we see Donkey Kong soon, but also fingers crossed we still get 3D Mario, the thing that everyone's been expecting, the thing that Nintendo kind of needs to put out for the holidays. I'm not going to let this steer my hopes away from seeing that. And one more rumor from Nash Weedle. In the first year of Nintendo Switch 2, we will see 2 IPs change hands. I'm not even entirely sure what this means, but if this is true, I think what Nash Weedle could be referencing here is that 2 different Nintendo IPs could be switching roles. So for example, there was a rumor that Star Fox might be having more of an adventurer's role, very Zelda-like. So perhaps Star Fox could be switching roles with Zelda, and yeah, maybe Star Fox and Zelda are switching roles. What would that mean for Zelda? Not sure. Maybe just another remaster and not a new game. That's possible. Or maybe Zelda on rails, like in Nintendo Land, they had that Zelda fight, that Zelda on rails sort of multiplayer slasher thing. So what if there's a Nintendo Land too? That would be interesting. But it's just something to keep in mind for what we may or may not see tomorrow. And I'm going to leave it there for now. I feel like we've just discussed a variety of things that are relevant to the Switch 2 Direct tomorrow. So much to keep in mind. It's such an exciting time. Stay tuned for the podcast later tonight. Stay tuned for the pre-show tomorrow morning. And then all the different trailer analyses we'll be doing for all the different games in the Direct. And of course, Treehouse coverage as well. Things are just getting started, everyone. This is the beginning of the epic Switch 2 generation. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.